Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Perspective 254. My name is Agility Ekesa. I'm going to start today's episode with a very short story. It goes like this. Once upon a time, in a small village called Asamambut in Kamagut, Western Geshu County, there lived a young man. There lived a young boy. His name was Kipchirchir Samoy. His friends, his friends just called him Kip for short. Others called him Sam, yet others, for some strange reason, called him William. I don't know why. Anyway, names aside, Kip was a very, very ambitious and highly motivated young man. He wanted to be a rich man when he grew up. So, Kip decided to start a chicken selling business. He sold lots and lots and lots of chickens. And with the money that he got from selling lots and lots of chickens, he acquired some land and built a hotel. Now, how he got this land is not important. He's reputed to have some pretty creative ways of acquiring parcels of land. But that is not the focus of our story tonight. We are not focused on how he got the land. Kip is now a very rich man, and he owns his very own hotel. His ambition finally paid off. End of story. The moral of the story here is this: good things come to those who hustle. If you hustle really, really hard, sell lots and lots and lots of chicken, maybe someday you too can build your very own hotel. Your hotel might not look like this, but it could look something like this, or even that. Either way, you still have your very own hotel, and that's what matters. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the secret to success and the segue to my story for today. The Hustler Fund, aka the Financial Inclusion Fund. Some folks are actually starting to call it the hustler fraud. I don't know why. Anyway, it is an easy mobile loan scheme that catapulted our President Dr. William Ruto's rise to power. The 2020 Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics Comprehensive Poverty Report documents that 15.9 million Kenyans are actually considered poor, while youth unemployment is estimated at around 38.9%. It is against this grim backdrop that someone in the Kenya Kwanza campaign thought up the brilliant idea that has now come to be known as the Hustler Fund. The fund aims to provide loans of between 500 shillings and 50,000 shillings to hustlers for investment into their businesses or business activities. According to the regulations, Kenyans can borrow a minimum of 500 shillings and a maximum of 50,000 shillings. The borrowers are required to repay the loan within 14 days at an interest of 8% per year. The interest rates for the loans are capped at 8% annually. During the campaigns, though, the Kenya Kwanza Alliance marketed the Hustler Fund as the silver bullet to solving joblessness and the lack of credit, accusing telecom companies and banks of predatory lending practices. Dr. Ruto had initially promised that the money would be free, but after winning the election, there was a drastic turnabout on that tune. He warned that there would be no free money, adding that loans from the Hustler Fund will have to be repaid. Ruto's promise notwithstanding, it also turns out that the Hustlers Fund charges 8% as an interest if the borrowers repay the loans within 14 days, past the 14-day deadline, and that rate goes up from 8% to 9.5%. And then once you apply for the loan and qualify for whatever amount they think you do qualify for as a borrower, here's how the money is divvied up. 95% of that loan is deposited in your M-Pesa account, while 5% is deducted and automatically goes to the borrower's savings account. Of the 5% that goes to your savings, 70% of that will be put in a long-term savings in a pension account, while 30% will go to a short-term savings account. Two banks, in this case, withhold a borrower's savings in the fund until they pay their loans. To mitigate against the risk of total default by the borrowers, the bank shall retain the 30% of the intended short-term loan savings in a suspense account until full repayment of the loan is done. Once the borrower repays the loan, he or she shall access the short-term savings after 1 year. It's really quite complicated, isn't it? In a country where only 9% of the workforce has a stable income, with 39% of the Kenyan youth having no jobs, such an offer carries such a huge potential. While the Hustler Fund might appear as this new shiny idea that's getting all the so-called hustlers excited. It is really nothing new to Kenya or Africa or even the world in general. This is just basically a version of something called a microloan. Other state-run schemes targeting the same group of people have been around for quite a while in Kenya. It's the same idea, just rebranded with a different name. And the most famous microloan program we might all be familiar with is something called Kiva. Kiva is a global non-profit organization that connects borrowers in need with individuals willing to provide interest-free loans to those borrowers. While Kiva is not a government initiative, it often partners with local governments and organizations to facilitate lending. The platform has helped millions of people access credit, particularly in developing countries. Some historical examples of such small loan programs in Kenya include the Youth Development and Women Enterprise Funds launched by former President Mwai Kibaki, the late, and Uwezo and Biashara Funds launched by his successor, Uhuru Kenyatta. The Uwezo Fund was launched in 2013 to offer affordable credit to women, young people, and people with disabilities. However, the fund has not been very successful, with default rates reportedly running between 40 and 60%. This high level of default has raised concerns about the sustainability of the fund and its effectiveness. The Youth Enterprise Fund, established in 2006, was also aimed at providing financial support to young entrepreneurs in Kenya. The fund offers training and mentorship to young people looking to start or expand their businesses. Unlike other initiatives, this too has faced challenges in implementation, including allegations of corruption and mismanagement. The Women Enterprise Fund, launched in 2007, was designed to support women entrepreneurs by providing access to credit, training, and mentorship. The fund has had some success in promoting women's economic empowerment, but it has also faced challenges related to loan repayment and program sustainability. Apart from their duplicative roles, these funds have been dogged by corruption, inefficiency, political interference, and high default rates. In 2016, for example, a probe by Parliament's Public Investment Committee revealed how youth fund officials working in cahoots with lawyers and businessmen swindled more than 180 million shillings to buy luxury homes, vehicles, pay for expensive holidays, and line up pockets of well-connected individuals from their fund. A few months ago, Public Service Cabinet Secretary Aisha Jumwa put Women Enterprise Fund officials on notice after receiving numerous complaints about corrupt officials demanding bribes from the applicants. Additionally, the rate of default on loans in all funds is so high to the extent that the revolving aspect, where the chances of the next borrower getting loan are dependent on the previous borrower repaying, has been extremely compromised. While the government has been clear on details about borrowing and payment, the fine details of the implications of failing to pay back the loan have not been clearly explained. The conceptualization of the Hustler Fund leaves a lot to be desired. Unlike other digital credits, not much thought went into the de-risking aspect of these microloans, specifically the Hustler Fund. Mobile lenders usually have two main approaches in dealing with defaulters. It's either blacklisting them or basically just sending reminders through text messages. Other than using the credit scoring tool maintained by credit reference bureaus, there is no other way to ensure that the loans get repaid. While the fund aims to address the issue of high interest rates, improve financial inclusion, it's not without its fair share of potential drawbacks. Outside of the default rates of these loans, here are a few other problem areas with the Hustler Fund that need to be addressed if it is to be a success. Critics argue that the fund's loan amounts are too small for businesses to truly benefit. Most folks that apply for the loans get amounts around 500 shillings. 500 shillings. Now, you tell me, what kind of business a hustler is supposed to launch with 500 shillings in his pocket? This is a project that was rushed out too quick to fulfill a campaign promise without all the proper planning and checks and balances in place. The money was not free as promised to begin with. Turns out you actually have to repay the money and at an 8% interest rate within 14 days. Past that deadline, and the rate goes from 8% to 9.5%. It is not clear which credit history data the government uses to determine the loan amounts. Many Kenyans got a rude awakening when they rushed to apply for the fund, with many learning that they were only eligible for 500 shillings. If honchos like William Ruto, his deputy Rigathi Gachagua, and the Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi were only limited to 2,200, 1,600, and 2,800 shillings respectively, what hope is there for the common mananchi, aka the hustler? The 50 billion shillings allocated to the fund is a meager amount compared to what Fuliza doles out to borrowers on every month. For example, disclosures by NCBA Group and KCB Group shows that Kenyans borrowed 1.5 billion daily between January and December of 2021. That's on. If each person was to get a maximum of 50,000 shillings, only 1 million people would access the fund. A very small drop in the ocean compared to the sheer number of jobless people in the country. Even more unsettling is the fact that the first component of the loan is a personal finance aspect. Generally, these are loans that are only mainly for consumption and not for businesses. Such loans cannot really help you grow the economy or create jobs. Remember, 500 shillings. The issue of informed consent is another problem area with the fund. For instance, on registering for a loan, the Hustler Fund platform seeks the applicant's M-Pesa PIN number. Applicants are not given the option to hold back the consent for the issue of this PIN. So in order for you to proceed with the application, you have to provide your M-Pesa PIN number, whether you like it or not. Utake usitake, PIN number utapeana. And the other thing is the risk of default. Similar government schemes in Kenya have experienced very high default rates, running between 40 and 60%. While default rates for the Hustler Fund are not available yet, it is reported that at least 800,000 Kenyans had fallen behind on their loan repayments within the first couple months. This could potentially undermine the fund's long-term success and leave taxpayers on the hook for unpaid loans. Some experts also question whether the best way to promote a thriving business environment is through top-down government handouts. Instead, they argue that the government should create policies that encourage private organizations to do the business. There is a lack of transparency around the default rates of the Hustler Fund, which leads to speculation about the true state of the program. Nobody knows. Nisiri. There are concerns about the long-term sustainability of the Hustler Fund, given Kenya's already heavy debt burden. With a public debt ceiling of about 98 billion shillings, the Kenyan government may struggle to maintain the fund in the long run, especially as the central bank rate is higher than the rate that's offered by the Hustler Fund of 8%. As Kenya moves forward with this Hustler Fund, it is crucial to reflect on the past initiatives and successes and challenges in order to optimize its impact. While initiatives like the Hustler Fund can help improve access to credit, they must also address the broader economic challenges faced by the Kenyans, such as unemployment and income inequality. Implementing policies and programs that promote job creation, skills development, and inclusive economic growth will be crucial for the Hustler Fund's long-term success. Direct partnerships between the government and renowned manufacturers of tools of businesses that Kenyans regularly borrow to buy may provide one of the possible foolproof measures in Hustler Fund loan disbursements. In this bargain, the government, in a well-thought-out arrangement that involves umbrella associations, will directly pay manufacturers of the popular products, like, for example, motorbikes, posho mills, tillers, and water pumps. Instead of escapism and adopting political or populist approaches, could the current regime consider a more inclusive and properly researched approach that could benefit the Mamabogans? While success of the said interventions are numerous, there seems to be a lack of long-term approach to addressing the actual challenges that affect the small businesses in Kenya. The provision of credit through the Hustler Fund therefore joins a flood of credit facilities that are already making claims on the future labor of millions of ordinary Kenyans. As research shows, digital lending technology through mobile apps is both enslaving and colonizing the future of many Kenyans. Providing easy access to credit is not going to put people out of poverty, but just create further debt for those people. African initiatives to promote financial inclusion and poverty alleviation have experienced both success and failures. In many cases, the programs have had a positive impact on the lives of the intended beneficiaries. However, they often face challenges related to implementation, transparency, accountability, and sustainability. The Hustler Fund seems to intend to fill a gap currently not met by existing financial institutions. At least I think that was the plan. To ensure its success, though, transparency and accountability must be the norm in this case. We can only hope that this will not be a conduit for corruption, as has been the case in some similar initiatives in the past. Let the money go to the hustlers and not to those with bottomless stomachs. You know yourselves. The government should put emphasis on the so-called hustlers, such as the mama boggers and the boda boda guys, as originally envisioned, so that the fund can have a meaningful impact on the populace. The Hustler Fund can learn from the successes and challenges of past initiatives in Kenya to refine its approach and maximize its impact on the people. While the Hustler Fund has taken some steps to address Kenya's financial inclusion problem, its pitfalls may limit its effectiveness in truly transforming the country's economy. It remains to be seen whether the hustler in chief, in this case, can overcome these challenges and deliver on his promises. Cheers.